Hello folks, I am back with part 2 of my review of the Beretta 92 M9A1. I was kind of rushing a little bit on that previous one because I was running out of space on my phone, but I wanted to give you some other information that I neglected to put in the first video, so I just want to continue on from where pretty much I left off. Uh, let's start with looking at the crown barrel. There was a feature I wanted to mention about that. The barrel here has like somewhat like a recessed crown, and I'm sorry if I'm muzzling people, but this area here is kind of smooth and curved over. That's to protect if you drop the firearm, the rifling will not get damaged. So if it hits, it won't mess up the rifling when the projectile comes out. So it's kind of like a different type of crown barrel where the outside of the barrels kind of curves in. I know it's getting a little blurry. I'm trying to get this focused in, but that's what's going on. That's where the barrel's kind of like curved in, and so it can protect that rifling. Another thing I wanted to mention is I forgot to tell you how many rounds this holds. They give you two 15-round magazines. Like I said previously, this is the PVD coated ones that can resist sand and other debris that might can get into the firearm. Also, I wanted to mention one of the biggest things I forgot to mention was how the trigger pull is. Now the trigger pull, I believe, is roughly about 10 pounds or so. It is a smooth trigger pull, kind of heavy. It could be about up to like 11 or 12 pounds, but that's the way it is. Now when you go to, let's say, the reset, now the reset is like, that's it, that's your reset. And I'm going to do that again because that reset is really kind of short. It's kind of, which is a good thing. So when you go 1, 2, 3, right there, and then a little bit of take up. Maybe it's me. Try it one more time. You let it out, and you hear the click, and then you pull back slight right there, and then you just pull the trigger. It's really good in single action. I like it in single action. Like I said, it is a long pull. The long pull is smooth. You can pretty much stay on target if you can. Unfortunately, when I was doing my shooting, basically I pulled a little bit to the left, and I'll show you those targets in a moment. I had mentioned about how the decocking mechanism is, and the thing about how when you decock this, hopefully you can see that there is the firing pin here. Well, that's what they call a two-piece firing pin, if I can get it to focus properly. It's called like a two-piece firing pin. And when you decide to decock it, notice how it moves. So when you're decocking it, it's moving pretty much out of the way. Out of the way, out of the way. So when the hammer goes down, in a full state. It goes right to the very front of the firearm, right into the slide. And I want to show you something. There's a little bit of a difference that I've noticed between another firearm. Okay, I'm back. What I wanted to show you on other firearms that have decockers, such as, let's say, the SIGs or the CZs. I'll give you an example. With the CZP01 or any of the variants that are the BD versions where you have a decocker, if you notice, the hammer is back, and when you decock it, it goes into what they'll say is a half-cock state. Now, this is pretty normal on certain firearms. A lot of firearms are made that if you decock it, it'll go into this half-cock state. On the Beretta, if it's cocked, it'll go fully into fully right there, and it's like I showed you earlier. There is a firing pin block because it rotated around. Now, one of the warnings that Beretta tells you immediately, they tell you that you should not put this in the half-cock position. The firearm is not rated for that, and they specifically tell you do not carry this in this position here. It's not safe for you to carry there. Basically, what will happen is you will wear out the sear spring, and it'll cause a malfunction later. But that's why, if you read your directions on all your firearms, there are little tiny things that will tell you what you can and what you cannot do with certain firearms. So that's one of the things Beretta specifically states, that you should not do that at all with this particular firearm. Okay, I'm going to tell you how it shot. The firearm shot very well for me, but I could have done a little better. Usually when I buy a firearm, the first thing I do is I go to the range and I do what I call my first 100. Now, my first 100 is me to figure out how it shoots, where I should aim, and so forth. So when I go on a second outing with it, I can have a better hold, shoot the firearm better. So it's a feeling out process. Like, certain firearms do have a different characteristic, and when you may have to change up your shooting style depending on the particular firearm. When firing this, there was no malfunctions, like I said in the previous video, but what I did was I held my thumbs forward. Now, if you notice, my support hand thumb, it is touching the slide release, and on the last shot the slide did not lock back, and that's because it was on there. So I had to make an adjustment. So my adjustment now is there's a little gap right in between here and the takedown lever, so my thumb goes like in between here. And that's how basically I was shooting that way. I may experiment a little later with a different shooting hand positions, but I saw other videos where people were shooting this firearm like this, and it's not really comfortable for me, and I don't feel as though that I can have proper control. So pretty much I'm going to do it this way, with this thumb here, and this thumb here. So it all depends on what's comfortable for you, but and especially everybody's thumb size is different from another person's, or hand grip is different. Speaking of grip, this firearm really feels good in the hand. Some people may think this grip is too thick or whatever. You can go to the website for Beretta, and you can find different grips. Getting back into the shooting aspect of it, this is my target. I had a lot of other targets, but I'm not going to go through all those targets right now. This is after I was experimenting a little while. These are my targets from 10 yards out. As you see, I'm getting a feel, try to figure out where I should shoot around in here. And again, like I said, I drifted over to the left. And of course, I'm not happy with this group, but like I said, I still have to get to a point where I'm comfortable with the firearm and know where it shoots. I'm getting a little bit comfortable on my headshots. After I did 10 yards with this, I experimented with headshots. Again, you see that it was the shots, even though I like this group here, it's a decent group, but not like I want it to be. I want it to be consistent within this 9 ring here. And unfortunately, it drifted over. As I was firing, I started drifting over to the left, and this is what will happen. You'll get your shots off into the black in this area and over here. Then I tried to adjust again, aiming a little bit toward the right, I aimed a little bit to the right, but a little bit too high. So now it's off target. So me getting acclimated with the pistol will help me later on with better target acquisition. But it's a little bit of a challenge because you can't adjust these sights. And like I said, these sights are fixed sights. You cannot do anything with them. You can't even take them. They're fixed. They're made in. That's what the FS and the packaging means, because it's fixed. You can't do anything with it. From, like I said earlier, a military standpoint, where these sights can get damaged in harsh conditions, you might just want something that's going to stay permanent. So these are permanently fixed. Nothing you can do about it, but it makes you an honest shooter at this point. Sorry, my camera's blurring, but it'll make you an honest shooter. So with that said, it's a great, it's a really nice firearm. I'm glad I got this because it's part of history. And a lot of military guys, they have a love-hate relationship with these firearms. I like this one because this was specifically made up for the United States Marine Corps. Just like as if with my CP226, that was what the Navy SEALs requested. So when it comes down to firearms that the military has used or in the past, or even with the new ones that are coming out like the M17, it's great to own these particular firearms. And I think the M17, it's a wait and see. I understand there's a lot of controversy from the P320s and from the past, but it's a wait and see. And that's why I waited on that and got this one first. So that's all I have to say about this firearm. I really like it. It's something that I've always wanted, and it took me God knows how many years to get this. But they're still around. They're at a decent price. They're a really good, decent price. So when you get a chance for your collection, feel free to get one. You'll be owning history. Take care.